Cool. So this is your dino, not dino of a day. This is a marine reptile. It's a plesiosaur. Here's another version. This one is made by a man named Mohammed Haghani. If you like dino-based games and apps, he has one called World of Dinosaurs. Check it out. The graphics are great, as exemplified by this beautiful plesiosaur right here. So this is your not dinosaur of the day. We'll check in with your drawings as we progress. I'm excited to see the paleo art. Each day you guys have been crushing it. Like, I'm very much in awe of your artistic skills. So that is our not dino of a day. We have another not dino to talk to, and it is a human, and it is our special guest of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, the world famous Sarah McAnulty, air horn. Sarah and I do a lot of science communication, cool, fun stuff together. Her specialty is squid, not just any squid, the most exquisite of all squid species, the Hawaiian bobtail squid. Excellent, which has a special place in my heart. I actually was born in Hawaii, so I love me a Hawaiian bobtail squid. Sarah, can you tell us just real quick? I want to know a couple things, just generally about you, and you should definitely tell us all about Skype-A-Scientist, because I know we have some kiddos, some teachers, some parents here. Also, as you were doing that, I want to know what your favorite dinosaur is, as well as if you have a favorite marine reptile outside, well, I guess squid aren't reptiles, but favorite marine reptile, favorite dino, favorite marine reptile. What the heck is Skype-A-Scientist?
Awesome. So, hey, I'm Sarah McAnulty. I am a squid biologist. I also am the executive director of a program called Skype-A-Scientist. We are all about connecting scientists with people all over the world. So historically, we matched scientists with classrooms, but now we're matching scientists with pretty much anybody. So if you're at home with your family in the living room and you want to talk to a scientist, what you do is go on our website, Skype-A-Scientist.com, and totally for free, you can sign up to be matched with a scientist and then have a conversation with them on video chat. We also do almost daily, Monday through Friday, live streams with scientists who I know are awesome communicators. We've had Dustin on for one almost like 2 years ago now. He was one of our first adopters of that. And you can all show up at the same time and ask questions. You can check that out as well on Skype-A-Scientist.com. And generally, we're just trying to make science as fun and accessible for everybody and help scientists communicate their work clearly and effectively. And so once the coronavirus situation is wrapped up, we'll also go back to bars and community centers and festivals and everything to bring science to wherever people are. Another cool thing that we've been doing lately is science trivia, specifically for adults. It's so fun.
I did it last Friday. It was so much fun.
It's legitimately the highlight of my week now that I don't actually get to go to physically to bars. This is the next best thing. So we gather on Zoom, and then we sort y'all into teams and we play science trivia. This week we're going to be co-hosted by Kaylee Swift. You may know her from the Ologies podcast or from Twitter. She's a crow scientist. Next week we've got Allie Ward that does the Ologies podcast.
You may have seen her on Netflix's 100 Humans as well.
And 100 Humans and Brainchild and did I mention Invention and all sorts of stuff. Allie is
treasure.
The national treasure. She's a science communication superstar. So she'll be on next week. We're doing 2 nights with her because the first night sold out so quick. And then the week after, we're doing Karina Newsom, who's a bird scientist and the best. And then the week after that, we have Dustin. So Dustin will be joining me for that.
I didn't know that.
You did, but it's cool. And let's see, what else? Oh, and also, okay, my favorite dinosaur.
Yeah, I know what your favorite dino is. Tell the squad.
It's the Ichthyosaur. That's how we say that, right, Dustin? You taught me.
You can say Ichthyosaur, however you want to pronounce it. That was our first. I think that was our first dino of the day. We drew it.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. I love that. I like that they're thickly built and low to the ground, and nothing's gonna stop them. They're like tough, and I just love that so much.
Cool.
And also that tail, man. The tail's great.
Yeah. All right, last thing. Do you have a favorite marine animal other than squid?
Probably plesiosaur because they're just they're iconic.
Yeah.
You know?
Fair. So, Sarah, I just want to share a couple pictures just so people know. Remember when you found this slug?
That slug was the best. I couldn't get that slime off my fingers for a disturbingly long time.
And if for some reason you think she's not serious about being a squid scientist, this is her car. It is dubbed the Squidmobile. you can honk at it. You can
You should
text
honk
the
at it.
number to get squid facts. So look for the Squidmobile rolling through your neighborhood. All right. Are we ready to do this, Sarah? Are we ready to get this ball, this marine reptile ball rolling?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about marine reptiles, animals that lived at the same time as the dinosaurs, but were not dinosaurs, and they lived in marine environments, not on land. Remember, dinosaurs lived solely, exclusively on land, so no animal lived in water is a dinosaur. Some dinosaurs may have utilized water, like riparian environments, which is where land meets water, like Spinosaurus. But as far as we know, no dinosaur ever in water, only marine reptiles. And we actually, and by the way, there are about 12,000 different living species today of marine reptiles. There are only about 100, I'm sorry, there used to be 12,000. What am I saying? There are 12,000 living. There used to be only about 100. Today, the marine reptiles that are alive are things like marine iguanas, sea turtles, saltwater crocodiles, and sea snakes. But if we go back about 300 million years, we start to see some of the first marine reptiles, including this guy right here. This is Mosasaurus. Now, we don't know a ton about the evolution. That was about 300 million years ago. That was actually called middle lizard. That's the name what Mosasaurus means. We have a stereosternum, which means solid chest. Again, this is about 300 million years ago. These are some of the first marine reptiles. And this dude, who I just love, Hupasuchus. Again, about 300 million years ago. And I should also mention, with these marine reptiles 300 million years ago, many of them were living, well, actually fast forward a little bit further, 200, 100 million years ago, many of them were living very near many of us today. So when the dinosaurs were around, stomping around North America, there was a giant sea that cut North America in half. It's called the Western Interior Seaway. So we find a lot of these plesiosaur and mosasaur and ichthyosaur fossils, which we'll talk about in a second. We find a ton of these in places like Kansas and Oklahoma, which is now hundreds of miles from the coast. But at the time, it was a solid beachfront destination. But that was only about 100 million years ago. So when we talk about mosasaurs, we're talking mostly, actually, let me show that one more time. Yeah, there we go. When we talk about mosasaurs, when we talk about marine reptiles, generally there are three major groups. We got mosasaurs, we've got ichthyosaurs, and we've got plesiosaurs. And so we're going to start with mosasaurs because they may be some of the most recognizable, especially if you've ever watched any of the Jurassic World movies or Jurassic Park. So this is the mosasaur from Jurassic World. They made it 4 times bigger than it actually was. Other than that, it's pretty anatomically correct. Obviously, it's huge in this image. Here it is underwater. Pretty crazy big paddle flipper tail. We got the flappers on the side, big strong mouth. My favorite detail, oh, here's another image of them from Jurassic World. Again, they made it way bigger than it needed to. Let me see if I can find it, is this right here. This is a detail that they kept in Jurassic World. See those 2 teeth, that 2 sets of teeth on the roof of its mouth? Those are palatal teeth. Mosasaurs had palatal teeth, which are teeth on the roof of your mouth. Some snakes and some eels have them today, but we know mosasaurs had them as well. It's an amazing adaptation to be able to grab and hold on to more prey. Pretty terrifying, and I love they included that detail in Jurassic World, even if they got other stuff wrong. Womp, womp. So that's a mosasaur. The other really cool thing about mosasaurs is when we first started finding them, in the late 1700s, we really had no idea what they were because there was no modern corollary or no modern animal to live today that really shared most, if any, of those features. So we thought at once it was like an ancient crocodile, maybe some sort of fish that breathes, which I would just call a whale. They thought it may be something related to like a Komodo dragon. We're not really sure. And in fact, I learned this a couple days ago, during the French Revolutionary War, the prized, amazing first ever like giant mosasaur skull that was found went missing, and a government official offered 600 bottles of the finest French wine for its return. And somehow, shortly thereafter, it was returned because apparently the French really loved their wine. But I'm glad it was returned, and I'm glad it had all these crazy set of features because Georges Cuvier, a man you may remember from way back in high school science class, he was looking at this, and he was looking at these different features, and he was like, there's nothing like this alive today. And at the time, generally people believed in something called uniformitarianism, which means the processes, both biological and geological, on this planet that have started 4.5 billion years ago are still continuing today. And we also thought that animals at that point could not go extinct. We thought that they would slowly transition from one form into another, so that animals from the past that we see, like a mosasaur, oh, that slowly transitioned and evolved into something else. That's why we don't see it anymore. We didn't think things could actually go extinct. And the mosasaur was what Cuvier used to put forth his theory that, yeah, animals absolutely can go extinct. And this is a really interesting and important predecessor to about 50 years later, when Darwin came up with his theory of evolution via natural selection. So had Cuvier not seen the mosasaur, not seen this crazy mix of features, not recognized that things could go extinct, we might not have had Darwin's theory shortly thereafter. So shout out to mosasaurs, shout out to Cuvier. And also, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to our next group of marine reptiles. Ba-ba-da-ba! These are the ichthyosaurs, kind of like a little bit thicker dolphin-looking guys, right? That's a whole set of different types of ichthyosaurs. Here's a bigger one right here. So the bigger ichthyosaur. We're going to come back to this in a second. The thing that is most cool for me about ichthyosaurs is they look a little bit like dolphins, right? But dolphins swim by moving their tails like this, forward and back along the straight axis of the body. And that is reminiscent of when dolphins, like all whales, dolphins are a type of whale, when dolphins and whales lived on land, they're originally land animals that took back to the sea. If you're a land animal like us and you move and your legs go like this to move, you go back into the water, you slowly evolve a tail that moves in that same direction to propel you. Versus marine reptiles like ichthyosaur and other, well, fish aren't marine reptiles, but fish, they're moving water side to side because they never had an evolutionary period on land where their limbs went like this to propel themselves. So dolphins like this, ichthyosaurs, and fish like this. Sarah has a comment. Did I get something wrong?
No, you didn't get anything wrong. I just had a question. Do we know if one or the other of the up and down versus the side to side is more efficient, or is it just two different ways to do the same thing?
I mean, I would guess that it's more efficient from the side to side because that's the way that dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of animals have evolved to live in water. I bet it's different, obviously, based on different body forms. It's what worked for dolphins, but you're right. I would guess it's more efficient for the more side to side because things have evolved that way for millions of years.
That's what I would guess.
It's a good question.
I don't know. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
So another really cool ichthyosaur fossil I want to show you guys is actually one that is at the American Museum of Natural History. That's a bingo square. It is this one right here. This is Cenoptydrus quadricius, if I said that even remotely correct. And the cool thing about this is this displayed viviparity, which means giving live birth, rather than oviparity, which is laying an egg and then that hatches. Most reptiles lay an egg and the egg hatches. Viviparity means you give birth to live young. And this ichthyosaur, this type of ichthyosaur here, Cenoptydrus, actually gave birth to live young. And you can see there's a skull of a baby down on the tail on the left side. You can't really see in this picture, but there's a skull kind of in the midsection, still inside the body. But the coolest one is the little skull. It kind of looks like a round part with a sticky up the top, right in the middle, coming out of where this animal's genitals were, right? And you can see the head is coming out body first. The tip of the nose is still up in the mother. So this shows that A, they were giving birth to live young, and B, they were giving birth in the same way that mammals, aquatic mammals like dolphins do today, where they're born body first, because if their head came out first and they got their body stuck, they wouldn't be able to get out of the mother to go get air. Right? So this prevents drowning before completely leaving the birth canal. So this is a really beautiful, amazing fossil. It's on display at the Museum of Natural History. There's also a fossil replica of it in the tile in the subway platform just under the museum. So if you find this in New York, if you're in New York, find it, point it out, blow a stranger or a friend's mind. Cenoptydrus quadricius. All right, so we did mosasaurs. We just did ichthyosaurs. You guys ready for, well, basically what is, not even basically, it is our marine reptile of the day. Ba-ba-da-ba, here we go. This is a plesiosaur. Another plesiosaur. Rob's face just lit up. I love plesiosaurs as well. The reason I want to talk about plesiosaurs, not only are they amazing, but it's a good chance to talk about one of the coolest paleontologists ever, someone who is only now starting to get the recognition that she deserves, and that is the only Mary Anning. So Mary Anning was a British paleontologist. She was born in 1799 in Dorset, which is southern England. It's right near a place called Lyme Regis, where there are a bunch of cliff sides near the water where rock from the age of plesiosaurs and dinosaurs was exposed. And so before we even get into her contributions, she had a pretty crazy life. When she was 15 months old, she was being held by a woman, standing next to two other women, standing under a tree, watching like a horse parade go by. And this is a totally true story. The tree was hit by lightning. It killed all three women except for her. And so she survived this miraculously somehow, went on. Oh, her life gets crazier after that, though. When she was 11, her father was also a fossil collector, died. So she and her brother had to help put food and bread on their family's table by finding and selling fossils in those cliffs to tourists. And that's how they survived for a number of years. I think it was in 1833, a mudslide happened while she was looking for fossils. I forgot to show you her picture so you know who you're talking about here. A mudslide almost killed her. It actually did kill her dog. This is a picture of Mary and her dog on Lyme Regis. Unfortunately, RIP to the dog, whose name I'm forgetting. It's a very cool name. Someone look up and find her name, or the dog's name. I can't remember. But Mary Anning was almost inarguably made the greatest contributions to marine reptile paleontology ever. So she was the first person to find a bunch of fish. She found a bunch of pterosaurs. She found a bunch of ichthyosaurs. And she definitely found a bunch of plesiosaurs, nearly complete before anyone else had ever found them, including Trey. Trey is her dog's name. Thank you, Grace. This is the plesiosaur that really started it all for her. That's her. Here it is right here. This is a drawing of the first almost complete plesiosaur she found. She actually sent this out to a bunch of scientists to help describe it, because at the time, if you were a woman, you couldn't be a professional scientist, at least not in England, which is dumb and crappy, but here we are. It was this plesiosaur right here that led to, this is the drawing of this one right here, which is on display at the Natural History Museum in London. I know Zach Martellucci, who's in the chat here, has a picture of himself basically exactly where this woman in the green outfit, dressed as Mary Anning, is. So yeah, definitely check that out if you go to the Museum of Natural History in London. I would honestly say, I'm not trying to hate here, but I think their marine reptile displays in that area is far superior to their dinosaur area. That's okay. We all have areas that we can improve upon. So that is another plesiosaur right there. What am I forgetting about her? She's starting to finally get the recognition she deserves now. In fact, Kate Winslet is starring in a biopic. I don't know if it came out yet. It's actually called Ammonite. She found a bunch of ammonites as well. So Kate Winslet is playing her life story. I don't know if that movie hopefully is out soon. There's actually, I think, 2 competing movies or like mini-series that are being put out about her right now. But the most important, maybe not the most important, but the thing that rings true for all of us that is a huge memory from her, because she used to collect shells and ammonites and fossils and sell them, the tongue twister, she sells, let's try again. She sells seashells by the seashore. Everyone try that. She sells seashells by the seashore. That comes from Mary Anning finding and buying and selling seashells by the seashore. So if you don't know who Mary Anning is, that's who you need to do a deep dive on as soon as we get off of this call. So, all right, Sarah, I know we did a quick run through mosasaurs, ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs. Sarah, do we have any questions in the comments, either for you about squid or about anything we talked about?
Yes, we've got a question from Max, and he wants to know, did any of these animals, these marine reptiles, did they travel or hunt in packs, or were they solo kind of folks?
It's a really good question. Short answer, we don't know. I don't know of any like bone beds where we found multiple specimens all together, so I'm not sure. What I would do in this scenario right now, where I'm not sure, is I would try to think of any animals that are alive today that are kind of similar, in similar environments, maybe eating similar things, maybe shaped somewhat similar, and see if they hunt together in packs. But we just don't know. We'd have to just make an educated guess. So we're not really sure. We know a lot about what they ate, simply because we found specimens with stomach contents preserved. So for instance, we know a lot of plesiosaurs are eating different squid ancestors and ammonites and stuff like that, but we don't know whether or not they were actually hunting in packs. Great question. Sarah, what else we got?
We got an awesome comment from Zach Martolucci. So he says that he heard that horizontal fins, so the fins in the whales, in the horizontal, so this way, the reptile way and the fish way, is better for vertical mobility. So when you're trying to go fast directly, but side to side is better for like going down and back up. So if you're trying to, say you're a sperm whale, you need to breathe and then go deep to hunt those giant squid. The tail that goes like this is better because you can go down in the back of the water.
I didn't even think about that because I was just thinking about propulsion in one direction. But you're right. You're in the water. Yeah. You get 360. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, but Zach's got our back with the fin facts. Yeah.
What else we got?
Other than that, we've got a lot of.
Also, my friends on Insta that are watching, if you guys drop comments or questions, I may be able to see them as well. But Sarah, what else we got? Also, I'm going to ask you, Sarah, do you know about like the squid ancestors, or were squid around generally the time of the dinosaurs in the Mesozoic? Or was it like predecessors to squid? What do we know? Do you know?
It was predecessors for the most part. And I don't remember when the first squid showed up, but the things that I should have reviewed this before the session, but I don't remember. So what we generally had was ammonites. So ammonites are the shells that are spirally. They look kind of like nautiluses, but they're actually not nautiluses. They're different kinds of animals. So those were eaten all the time. In fossils that we find of ammonites. They're one of the most commonly found fossil today, just because there were just a ridiculous number of them back then. And you'll see like bites that then healed back over in some of these fossils. So we know that they were getting eaten left and right, but they didn't always die. So that's pretty cool. Generally speaking, cephalopods have been around for 500 million years, which is an unfathomably long time.
When you say, so cephalopods have been around for 500 million years, so that's twice as long as any dinosaur. When you say cephalopods, who is that? Like, what are the animals in the group of cephalopods?
So that would be a octopus, cuttlefish, squid, nautilus. Those are the cephalopods that are living today. But there are a lot of cephalopods that no longer exist. And the first cephalopod kind of looked like I'm drawing it for you right now, kind of looked like a traffic cone with tentacles.
This is a good reminder too to everyone, just check in. I want to know how we're doing on, it won't show you with your background.
I'm going to take my background
all your drawings of plesiosaurs in a minute. Sarah, there we go.
I'm just taking my background away so I can actually show you. So this was the first cephalopod. It honestly doesn't look that different from this. So it has this shell that goes up that kind of, I think, looks a little bit like a traffic cone.
Why does it look like ghost to me?
Okay, well, sometimes cephalopods look like ghosts. And we're not judging them for that. That's just the way they are. Okay, and so every animal at the time was living on the seafloor. So they were just crawling around. Nobody really had invented evolutionarily swimming yet. And so the cephalopods were the first to kind of have liftoff. And so some people call the first cephalopods like hovercrafts of doom because they
hovercrafts of doom.
Yeah, because death from above, right? Because they put a little bit of air into their shells, so that instead of just crawling around like a walking traffic cone, they would be elevated up and then could attack from above.
When everything else was below it.
Right, everything else was sitting on the ground, and so they would pretty much, we think, stay close to the ground because they didn't really have anything to go that far up for. But then they would pounce from above to eat. And so other animals, of course, got on board with swimming later. And so then for the rest of cephalopod evolutionary history, it was basically an arms race between the fish and marine reptiles and squid, or all of the cephalopods in general. But we had, in addition to ammonites, we had belemnites. So these are things that basically look like squid, but they had big shells inside their bodies. So if you look at a belemnite like picture, like drawing, like paleo art style, they basically look like squid. They don't really look that much different, but they're also incredibly common fossils as well because of the sheer numbers that they were living but they had a shell on the inside. And then eventually most squid, almost all squid, have lost their internal shell, and they just have this remnant left. Some do, some don't, called a pen. That's basically like a little see-through, just ghost of a shell.
Okay. Just for my own personal and for Zach, can you explain what an ang is and why you sent Zach Martellucci and I on a wild goose chase across the fish markets of Sydney, Australia to look up a bunch of squid skirts to try to find an ang?
You bet. So, okay, let's get our terminology straight. Dustin is talking about an accessory nidamental gland, and so
you never told us it was an initialization or an acronym. We just thought.
No, but I did put it in all capital letters, so I thought maybe you thought I was just always screaming this organ. But we call it an ANG in the squid community. I think it's funny that Dustin calls it an ang, and we sometimes jokingly in our lab now call it an ang for that reason. But okay, so an ANG is only present in some squid. So it's present in all the cuttlefish and squid that are called myopsid squid, but just a type of squid. So like a reef squid, if you've ever been to Central America or Northern South America, you may have seen really pretty squid in the shallow water. And so those have this organ, and some bobtail squid, so that squid that I had up before, have it as well. And so the basic reason that an animal would have an ANG is to store a huge consortium of bacteria. So a whole bunch of different types of bacteria in this collection of tubules. It kind of looks like a pile of spaghetti, but every spaghetti strand is a different color. And all of those colors are different types of bacteria. And so yes, oh no, he's just waving his hand. So the community on the whole is responsible for protecting baby squid that are developing in eggs. So when the female squid goes to lay her eggs, she takes the embryo wrapped in a little bubble, and then on top of that bubble, the mom squid is adding a bunch of jelly. And the jelly protects the squid, and it adds bacteria into that jelly. And the bacteria that are hanging out in that jelly, you might think like, oh, bacteria are generally bad for us, but a lot of bacteria are amazing for us and super helpful, and without them we would be up the creek without a paddle. And so this bacteria will create antibiotics, antifungals, we think maybe anti-algals, so things that basically prevent stuff of all various kinds from growing on the squid eggs. And so if you let stuff grow on your eggs, it might suffocate the baby developing squid. And so we want to know if it's possible for us to develop antibiotics for use in humans from the bacterial community that's present in the eggs and present in the ANG of the squid. And so the reason I wanted Dustin to help me out is because he was going to Australia for work. And there are squid in Australia that we had not collected yet, and we hadn't looked at their ANGs yet. And so I knew Dustin well enough to know that he's always down for an adventure, and he'll say yes to doing wild, ridiculous things. And so I said, okay, I gave him a tutorial on how to do this, on what squid to look for, but he could only get the female squid. So he went to a fish market and needed to look like into the mantle of the squid. So
basically up the squid.
Hard to do. That's what he means by up the skirt.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was an adventure. And Zach also went, and they both did a live stream of trying to dissect these squid, and our lab was dying laughing. It was so funny. But they did a great job. And now it's part of our research.
I mean, like you said, this is bacteria that could save humanity. So I'm just trying to do my part.
Dustin may have partially contributed to saving humanity. That's absolutely
it's not like we.
The question that we were answering is, if you have one squid type, like, does that bacterial community look the same as a squid halfway around the world? Or does each species of squid have a different collection of bacteria, and therefore a different community that we can hopefully create antibiotics from? And so that's the question that Dustin was helping us answer.
It was very fun. I felt like a real scientist.
You were. You were a field biologist.
Was probably breaking international law by sending biological specimens in a box through the mail. But
we checked. It's not breaking the law. It's fine. We're good.
Okay.
We made sure you weren't breaking the law.
All right. Let's take one or two more marine reptile questions. Then I'm really excited to see these drawings. Just as a reminder, you guys hopefully at this point are almost, if not already finished with your beautiful plesiosaur drawings. Are these ammonites on the left or?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So Sarah, or Grace, because you have co-hosts, and Megan, any of you guys have any questions you see that need to be answered?
Hey, Rob, I unmuted you, so you can ask your question.
Nice. Rob, what's up? Hit me with a question.
So did each squid have its own? Hold on, there's an ant. Okay. Did the bacteria that the squids produce, were they like different for each squid, or were they all like similar?
So within one species, so if we look at like Hawaiian bobtail squid like this, they have, let's say, about 100 different types of bacteria that live in them. And if you look at one Hawaiian bobtail squid and another one that are all kind of in the same water, maybe the same bay, about 50 of those strains, we think, are gonna be pretty much the same. And then there are some there's some variation. Now, if you look at that squid versus a cuttlefish, so like a squid in Hawaii versus a cuttlefish in Australia, they certainly have overlap. There are some types of bacteria that you'll find in both, but there's way bigger of a difference between a bobtail squid in Hawaii and a cuttlefish in Australia versus among the same species. So basically the answer is every species is a whole new repository of potential antibiotics that we can work on. So that's super exciting. That's the answer. And you never want to hope for an answer in science. You just want to find out what's true. But for the sake of the ability of ourselves as a species to be able to make new antibiotics, having more options in the world is always a better thing. So diversity is
so the next step is you're going to send me to fish markets all over the world to collect these things.
Yeah, I'll come with you this time though, because I won't be doing a PhD anymore. I'll be done with that.
Sarah, I'm going to start scrolling through and looking at some of these amazing plesiosaur drawings that we have. So if you made one, please hold that up. As we do that, if you could see if there are any other great questions that we should answer in the chat box. So hold up your plesiosaur drawings. Jada, come and correct per usual. That's a beautiful plesiosaur. I like it. Looks great. M, let's see what M's got here. I like the long twisty neck. Wait. Oh, I see. There was a study in the head as well. Oh, there's a different type behind it. Interesting. Oh, I almost forgot. Real quick, as we're going through these, we had a specific request. Let me see if I can find it. We had a specific request for Bapa-da-ba. Where is it? Where is it? Did I not put it on here? Oh no, I can't find it. Leopleurodon. I know we had a friend who wanted to see a Leopleurodon. I don't know what happened to it. I am so sorry. I have let you down. Anyway,
Sarah, Dustin, John wants to know, is there bacteria in all marine life?
I think there's bacteria in all life, right? So I think there's actually more cells in and on your body that are not yours than they are yours. Like that's how many bacterial cells there are. And like Sarah said, most bacteria is actually beneficial. Like it helps you digest, helps you do a bunch of different things. There are some harmful bacteria, but yeah, every living thing. Even bacteria.
That's generally true. And then there are a couple weirdos.
That's all I go for. I go for generally true.
Well, that was generally true. Broad brushstrokes, if we're making generalizations on life, correct. But there are, so first we were, way back when, we were like, okay, bacteria, not great. Let's learn how to kill all of it. And then we were like, oh no, some of this bacteria is really good for us. And then we were like, oh my God, there's bacteria on every living thing. There's nothing that doesn't have bacteria. And then in the past couple of years, we're like, well, what does it really mean to be associated with bacteria? Like, is it having it just going through your system, is that a symbiosis? Or does it have to always be with you? And so there are some animals that may have bacteria on and in them, but really don't have like hardcore associations with those animals. And so like caterpillars, not all of them, but some of them don't have any bacteria in their gut that isn't just like passing through with the food. And so they don't really have a microbiome. And it's really strange, but that's what we've found so far. So broad brushstrokes, in the ocean, I can't think of anything that doesn't have beneficial symbiotic bacteria living with it. But on land, we think caterpillars are one of the ones that don't.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Nadia has had her hand up for a while.
No,
so,
unmute her.
Okay, Grace got her.
What's the biggest and smallest marine reptile?
Ooh, I think mosasaur was if not the largest, amongst the largest? I'm not positive. That's a really good question. I think the largest living today is the Loch Ness Monster. No, I'm kidding. Those aren't real. But you can see how the Loch Ness Monster is based off of. It looks a lot like a plesiosaur, like the one that our friend Ryan and Sydney, hold that up again. Nice. Oh, I like you got some environmental stuff under it. We got some fish it might be eating. Cool, cool, cool. Ooh, plesiosaur. Here's another great plesiosaur. Sarah, as we're looking at these last few plesiosaur, as we're wrapping up, I had a question from Instagram. What is the main difference between squid and octopus?
Yeah, let's get into it. So squid and octopus diverged really quite a long time ago in evolutionary time. So even though they have things in common, they're both cephalopods, they both change color, they both have beaks, their internal organs are somewhat similar, but there are little differences here and there. They just kind of are like, they just went down different paths. And so the difference between an octopus and a squid is that octopuses have 8 arms. And those arms aren't particularly stretchy, but they are very maneuverable. And they've got suction cups all along, all the way to the tips. They have these like itsy bitsy little teeny tiny suction cups at the end. And squid have, every squid but one has 8 arms as well, with the same form and function. And then 2 tentacles. And so tentacles are super ultra stretchy appendages, arms basically. And so whereas arms are just kind of like this shape, they're never really going to change. That's just like kind of how they are. But tentacles are all like tucked in between the arms. And then when a squid is trying to attack prey, they shoot out and grab the prey and then pull it in. And so the clubs at the ends of the tentacles are, in many species, in addition to the suction cups, there's a ring of like chitiny teeth on the suction cups that like dig in to the prey. And so when you're looking at a squid, or if you're looking at a cephalopod and you're like, oh, I don't know if it's a squid or a cuttlefish, the first question you should ask yourself is, does this animal have 8 arms and 2 tentacles, or does this animal have just 8 arms? And so if it has 8 arms, 2 tentacles, squid or cuttlefish. Cuttlefish and squid are very similar compared to octopuses. And then if it has just 8 arms, it's an octopus.
Cool.
So bobtail squid, some people think that they look like octopuses, and they do kind of. Everything that's a cephalopod looks something like an octopus, but they're squid because they have the 2 tentacles in between those arms.
That's actually a good segue to talk about how at least once a year, and I did this with Sarah a couple months ago, she leads an Atlas Obscura trip to Oahu where they go squidding, where they literally, you're wading in about knee-high water trying to find a bunch of Hawaiian bobtail squid and catch them for scientific research purposes. So it's amazing because you get to go to one of the most beautiful places on earth and you get to hang out with Sarah, but also you get to literally contribute to science on a cool sciencey vacation.
Yeah, we were gonna do one in June, but we're not going to do it anymore because of the virus, but we're doing 4 virus permitting in 2021. We'll be doing theoretically 2 in June, 2 in January. So as long as we're allowed to fly and move around, we'll be doing that.
If you like adventures and you like science and you like vacations where you're like doing stuff, check out Atlas Obscura's trips. I lead the Dinosaur one across Colorado. Sarah does the one in Oahu. We have other friends who do amazing ones in places like the Amazon. So check those out. I loved your drawings today. They were amazing. Just as a quick recap, we talked about how marine reptiles, there are about 12,000 species that are alive today, but only about 100 there used to be, well, at least we've only found about 100 marine reptiles that have gone extinct back in the day, which include things like mosasaurs, which you may recognize from Jurassic World, ichthyosaurs, which kind of look like kind of thicker dolphins, except for we talked about how in water you're moving like this versus something like a dolphin, which has an evolutionary history on land, is moving more like this because that's the way your legs move. And we also talked about plesiosaurs, which are the kind of Loch Ness monster looking guys with the long necks, the flaps on the paddles on the side. And most importantly, we talked about Mary Anning, one of the most badass paleontologists of all time. If you don't know who Mary Anning is, look her up. We wouldn't know about half of these marine reptiles if it wasn't for her. Sarah, we're just about out of time. Do you know what we're going to talk about tomorrow? You don't, because I've not told you. I've not told anyone. So in this last 2 minutes, fam, both on Instagram and in the Zoom room, I need you to drop me your questions on, wait for it. I need you to drop me your questions on sauropods. Tomorrow, we're talking sauropods. We've talked a lot about theropods, which are, again, three-toed, primarily carnivorous dinos, T-Rex, Velociraptor, Deinonychus. Tomorrow, we're talking the long necks, the long boys. Long necks, long tails, the sauropods, Brachiosaurus, Brontosaurus, Camarasaurus, Argentinosaurus, like so many of the big, literally the largest things I've ever walked the face of the earth. So in this last couple minutes, drop your sauropod questions. And tomorrow, I'm going to tell you why Brontosaurus is actually back. It is a real dinosaur. It existed, I promise. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are just about out of time. Grace, thank you so much for co-hosting. Megan, thank you for co-hosting. Megan, I'm going to bring you to the front again just because the background and the shirt. Can you show everyone your earrings real quick? Because those are great as well. You got to get in close. Might not work with your background.
Sorry, it said you were trying to unmute me, so.
They're so cute.
I'll wear the other ones. I have 4 different ones in this set that are all kind of the same. They're different, very realistic dinosaurs with incredibly realistic skeletons in them. My dog wants to chime in, so yeah.
Also, did anyone get a bingo today? I'm curious to know about that. We have bingos.
Looks like Rob did.
Rob? Anyone else? Anyone on Insta get a bingo?
Taishi did.
No? All right. As we close out, ladies and gentlemen, listen, we've talked a lot about marine fossils. Get to the bottom of the ocean. Bring scuba gear. Bring a shovel. I don't care if you're looking for marine reptiles or you want to learn more about dinosaurs. Never stop digging. See you guys tomorrow. We're doing all the sauropods that we see fit. Incredibly excited. All right, guys. Have a great, what is today? Thursday? It's Thursday?
Yeah.
Great Thursday.
Thursday.
Okay. Dance break. So we're out.
Bye.
We do